Okay, yeah, I'm the IP and Commercialization Research Manager at Swansea, and I'm following on from Mark Bowman's talk to talk about a program called the Swansea Healthcare Innovation Partnership Program. They say it's always nice to start with a pretty picture, so you can, this is a picture of Swansea University. You can imagine you're in San Diego on a nice sunny day. Of course, days aren't always like this, but this is the main campus at Swansea University. Does this work? How do I get the main campus is here, and the hospital is actually the Singleton Hospital is located in close proximity to the actual campus. There's an awful lot actually happening at Swansea. They've actually built a second campus on the other side of the town. It was a £500 million capital infrastructure project, and the School of Engineering and Management are actually located on this campus. So, what is SHIP? So, following on from Mark's talk about an investment readiness program, the university received funding from the Welsh Government Health and Social Services Group to develop a pilot program for healthcare-focused innovations in collaboration with Welsh NHS trusts and Welsh health boards. It was a program partly funded at the university because of its success and lessons learned from Investigate, the project that Mark was talking about. Part of the issue, of course, with NHS in the UK is that they're not geared up to capture IP and to develop technology, and they don't have a particular expertise in technology transfer. They're very good at governance of tissue and governance of clinical trials, areas actually that universities may not themselves be particularly good at. So the thinking was that this program, the Welsh NHS boards and the trusts could collaborate with the university to tap into their expertise with regard to technology commercialisation. Also, the university could act as a kind of knowledge centre, or kind of for the Welsh health boards to kind of learn about this process. So applications were invited from academics at Swansea University, as well as staff in any Welsh health board or NHS trust. The funding for each project ranged from 5,000 to 50k, although most of them were in the range of 50k, according to the needs of the project. So, as Mark talked about the Investigate legacy, SHIP followed a similar model where we identified suitable healthcare-focused projects. We screened applications using internal resources, and that was primarily Mark and I. Applications were turned down on the basis of quality of research, issues around state aid, for example, as well. They may have been spun out already into a separate entity. And then we used an external advisory panel very similar to Investigate. I say very similar, but it was not the exact same because of course, in this scenario, although we're talking about using a panel to review technologies, because the technologies were healthcare, it wasn't just about a commercial element. There was also an issue of unmet clinical need which has to be addressed in the panel. So there was a slight difference with the Investigate model, which was entirely about commercialization of technology. So once the technologies were selected, of course, we provided internal budgets in the university for successful projects. And then we went about commissioning specialist reports for each project. And this is quite important because each project differed with regard to its needs. Some projects needed a kind of IP review. Some projects needed a very detailed market analysis of what the actual final product or service would look like. And of course, other projects looked at really more kind of clinical and looked at the actual unmet clinical need and where the technology might fit in with regard to that. And then there was a providing of stage reporting against planned outcomes to the Welsh Government. So there was some overlap in terms of representation from the Investigate commercial panel. We had the IP group, which, as Mark mentioned, has a particular relationship with Swansea University and is a venture capital company. Xenos, which is the Business Angels Network in Wales. Finance Wales. Smart Anchor Ventures, which is also another investment firm. And we also had representatives from Swansea and Welsh Government and Mark himself. So these, out of 12 applications that we received for funding, we selected 5. ER breast plus breast cancer diagnostic based on liquid chromatography mass spec tagging technology, development of an eating disorder app, graphene-based diagnostic for detection of an infection, primarily through detection of the protein amylase, colorectal cancer diagnostic based on Raman spectroscopy, and a health economics validation of CareMore. So there's a range of technologies there, 2 or 3 diagnostics, 1 kind of business methodology technology, and 1 app for eating disorders. As I say, we had 12 applications, and this is a Pan-Wales initiative where we had applications from a range of health boards and NHS trusts, including the ABMU, and Iron Bevan University Health Board, Cumtaf, Howelda, and various other trusts. So I don't have time to go through all the technologies, but just to briefly mention a few. ER plus breast cancer diagnostic based on mass spec. So some of the technologies were driven or led by academics, and some of the technologies were driven or led by consultants in hospitals or senior hospital staff. This one was driven essentially by an academic. So there's existing Swansea technology with regard to measuring cholesterol metabolized using charge tagging. We've actually licensed this technology to a company in the US for a non-exclusive license for research reagents. But we found that there was an avenue for use of this technology because it gives exquisite detection of cholesterol metabolites, which essentially nobody else in the world can do. And cholesterol dysfunction or dysregulation is known to be an issue in breast cancer. So in this project, we're essentially collaborating. Bill Griffiths was the inventor at the university. Swansea is collaborating with Gianfilippo Bertelli at ABMU in using Wales Cancer Bank samples. And the thinking is that this technology could be used for the detection of early breast cancer, to be either used in conjunction with mammography, or could also be used for detection of aromatase inhibitor resistant breast cancer. I can't really say too much about that because the project is still ongoing, it's just finishing up. There will probably be there will be IP generated for this, and there will be a patent filed with regard to this technology. It will take a few months also to analyse the data because it's kind of blind, but it's going quite well. One of the other technologies, and I think this is a good technology, is a bit of a flagship technology for a ship, and it highlights how the university, how a hospital and a hospital consultant can plug into the university systems for technology transfer. So this is colorectal cancer diagnosis based on Raman spectroscopy. This is led by a consultant at ABMU. He already had some research funded by Cancer Research Wales, but there was no IP registered. And so this is a collaboration between Mr. Dean Harris at ABMU and Professor Pete Dunstan, a physics professor at Swansea University. And essentially, and there's also obviously a Ph.D. student. So we have essentially, if you think about it, 2 independent agents. We have a Ph.D. student who is an independent agent with regard to universities, funded by a company. And of course you have a consultant who essentially the IP is owned by his employer, which in this case happens to be ABMU. So first of all, we had to do a scenario where we assigned the IP to the university in return for consideration, and that consideration was with regard to the consultant, Dean Harris. He was treated as a staff member, which means that he could share the revenues in the commercialisation of any technology. His employer also receives a percentage of shareholding of any return on the IP that is commercialised. And the student also assigned her IP for a confidential percentage of royalties that may be garnered in future for the commercialisation of the technology. So this gives a kind of an example of the kind of processes you need to go through in terms of when you want to kind of, if a hospital staff and a student want to plug into the university policies and technology transfer process. In return for that, we commissioned a market report. We have commissioned a patent attorney, and the patent should be filed in the next week or two. We're also, and the basis of this technology is the analysis of blood samples using Raman spectroscopy and software modelling. Software modelling tends to be a particular strong feature of Swansea University. It's got a strong background of it in the last 30 years. We're also having to look at cleaning that, the IP, up around that, because the technology is using a particular open source that we're going to need to kind of address in terms of, because of course for venture capital investment they're not particularly fond of open source software licenses. One of the final technologies that I'm going to talk about is the health economics validation of CareMore. It's essentially it's a commissioning framework, a kind of business methodology developed by Julian Baker, who's a procurement expert at ComTAF, UHB, University Health Board, and Professor Kerry Phillips, who's a health economist at Swansea University. This is more a kind of joint and collaborative work. The work has mostly to date been developed at ComTAF, University Health Board. And essentially it's a business methodology for commissioning internal and external services for NHS. Not a particularly sexy topic, but it saves a lot of money, and this project was all about essentially healthcare benefit. This project has involved essentially, again, we commissioned a report that looked at the IP, but essentially was also more about validating the technology within Wales and looking to validate the technology in the English NHS. Okay, I think I'll hand over to Mark now to final. It's like we're a couple. This is a final few slides on Agri-IP, which arose out of the SHIP project.
Thanks very much, Steve. I'll be quick, Seamus, bearing in mind your time. Agri-IP is the successor to the successful Investigate and SHIP initiatives. It was awarded in October 2016 and is a £13.5 million Pan-Wales commercialisation initiative. As I mentioned earlier in the Investigate talk, it's based on an open access, open innovation concept, managed by Swansea, and is open to funding applications across Wales from universities, NHS, health boards, or from SMEs, and also potentially to large companies that have a footprint in Wales. You'll appreciate that this project runs until 2020, and if you look at Investigate and SHIP, you had an investment readiness and effectively a proof of concept programme that ran over a very short defined period. What Agri-IP gives us is the opportunity to take projects from very early stages right the way through to commercialisation and co-investment with the Innovation Fund over a sustained period. I think that will be transformational in terms of the outputs that we're able to achieve. We're looking at funding around £50,000 per project, but that will be according to need, so there will be flexibility to put smaller or larger amounts in. Projects can enter the Agri-IP programme at various stages of development. We're using the technology readiness level scale again to identify what stage the projects are when we come across them. We've developed 5 product themes which link together as projects move through the programme. So Elucidate is the discovery phase. This is effectively a codification of the project and identifying what needs there are, what needs to be done to take it forward. Activate is the launch phase, effectively a proof of concept type program. Translate is the development phase, which is translational follow-on type funding, and at that stage we're probably looking to get some co-validation of the projects through third-party financing coming in alongside the Agri-IP monies. Investigate, we discussed earlier, regard that as a maturation phase where we get projects ready for investment, either as spin-out companies or as licenses, and then using SUIF we can co-invest in the businesses that emerge. So just to finish off, we have a pipeline ready-made through the SHIP projects, but alongside that, I think it's over 100 projects are now being identified and are being or will be assessed in due course. We're going to use a commercial panel again to decide which projects should receive funding to monitor progress. And as you can imagine, the scrutiny levels as the projects go through the various product themes, the scrutiny levels will increase as more investment and time is put into them. And once again, we're going to use specialist third-party consultants to come in and assess the prospects of the projects that we identify. So that's Agro IP. Thank you very much.